Hi guys, Ryan here from the Basketball Fix. Now, we are so happy with the amount of support we've received all season long from our viewers and listeners. Coming into NBL 25 finals is a big call to action. If you like what we're doing, please share this episode with somebody else close to you that you think would also like the Basketball Fix content. It helps us out immensely. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on your favorite platform. Shows us that we're doing a great job, and we will continue to deliver top quality NBL content all through the finals and into NBL 26.
Do it like the king do, homie, ain't nobody king you, simmer down, boy, and get your hands off the ground, boy.
Oh, welcome to the King's Table, and I see my man Eric likes the theme song for the King's Table. You're home of the Sydney Kings podcast. I'm your host SJ from Love of the Game Australia, and joining me is the voice of the Sydney Kings, man, the court announcer, creating all the vibes. Eric Stevens, how are you today, man?
Man, I'm good, SJ. Man, great intro. Like we didn't have that last time we chatted. This is awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's the Sydney Kings podcast, man. So if we're gonna be the Sydney Kings, you might as well sort of act like it. And we're gonna be talking about the Sydney Kings, your role with North's basketball, the new CEO. And making some noise there too, man. Loving your content. You're kind of getting out there now, showing your face a bit more, doing a few videos, even courtside and for North. So respect to that, man, because you're kind of building the brand there too. And also Sydney Flames. But before we do, the last time we chatted, you were kind of praying and hoping that you're going to get selected for the Olympics. And bro, you did your thing over there. How was that experience like?
It was just, I just kept telling people, like, when I came back, like, it was the most just unreal, unbelievable experience that I've ever had. So my international work started in 2019 in China. So I was really fortunate enough to work with FIBA in China for World Cup there. And then had Tokyo come up. So I was, did the Olympics there and a couple other international things that we can talk about later as well. But really, as that led into Paris, it's like Tokyo as a comparison against Paris. My heart breaks for everybody in Japan because that was a great Olympics getting ready to go. And then COVID kind of knocked it not only a year forward, but also just limited crowds. I think we had about 5,000 in the stadium every night. The night that I missed, I think we talked about that last time. A night that I didn't do a shift, the whole U.S. team came and sat right behind where I would normally be sitting to watch a game that I wasn't doing. I was like, wait a minute, like that would have been great. But man, Paris was a different level. And as far as the question goes around, like, well, why was it so different? I mean, obviously, Tokyo just a different experience because of the aftermath of COVID, but it's Europe. It is Paris. I mean, everything. It was star-studded. Everybody that watched it on TV, like everything down that was art directed, down from like the Louis Vuitton patterns on the basketball court, all the way through every other element in the venue and around. It was art directed to a T. And then, of course, like the talent that you get with Team USA and all the rest. It'll blow your mind. And not to mention just how amazing the French teams were.
Yeah, man. And the French team with Wemby there, making some noise. What's been that Wemby effect down there in France, man? I know it sucks that they could have got Joel Embiid also, but I want to talk to you about the whole quality of the international game. Yeah. Because as you said, it was a big tournament, Team USA, laden with talent, but man, the world pushed them. I know there was a few games there with South Sudan, Serbia also. What was that experience like? And did you think USA was going to get beat?
Listen, okay, let's take this piece by piece because I'm so glad you're bringing this up. This is how it went down for me. So when USA was was playing Serbia, I had already done morning games that morning, and then I went back, and so I was at my hotel, this is back when we started in Lille. And then the finals were all in Paris. And so I went back. It's about a 15-minute walk, 20-minute walk to the venue, to my hotel. And so I got there and I'm watching the game on TV. So I'm not really there for that. But then all of a sudden that game got really interesting, right? So like super, super interesting. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back to the stadium. I'm going to have to walk down. Like it was third quarter. And I'm like, I have to walk back down there. I have to be in the stadium, even though I won't be calling it. I have to be there for history.
Yeah.
Like, this is history in the making. I've got to go. And I was like, maybe, maybe not. But man, that game was a shot or two away from USA being out. Like, that's the way it is. And I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna make this call. Okay, this is gonna be incredibly unpopular with a lot of people, but also consider that I'm both a proud Australian and I am an American as well, right? I'm calling it right now. In LA, I don't believe that USA women's and men's will both win the gold in LA, even though they're the home team. It's catching up too fast. It's catching up too fast, and I think that the days of just pure athleticism are over. Like they're just done. I mean, Steph Curry, he saved USA from some embarrassment. Like I was there, like I was a witness, and you could just see it, man. If he doesn't catch fire, everybody else was looking around, and there's a lot of talent on there, and a lot of people go, no, KD would have stepped up, or LeBron would have stepped up, or whoever. But like, he really made it happen.
Because it was my mate too. He was overseas and he was going to go to the game, and he goes, "Oh man, look, I'm going to the soccer game. I want to go to this basketball game, but I don't know if I should or not because the tickets are expensive." I'm like, brother, it's the last chance you're going to see LeBron James, Steph Curry, KD, and all these big names playing for Team USA, bro. Get your ass over there, man. And then after that, he kind of thanked me. And I was like, bro, that's sometimes there's some experiences that money can't buy ever again. And that was one of them. And bro, he loved it. And then he took some mad photos and things like that. But I want to mention you too. You had a lot of great calls those games because we don't really hear the court announcers, but then sometimes on TV you can kind of get some sound effects. You can hear them. I remember hearing your voice and telling my wife, "Yo, pass Eric Stevens, man!" Like, and then you posted a few of the videos, and it just gave me goosebumps.
Dude, that's super generous, man. Super generous. Thank you.
Yeah, because I remember like we were sitting there talking about it, and you're like, "Man, I want to go there. I want to go." And you got selected, and I was like, "All right, let's go." That's hectic.
I knew there was a short list. And that at the time when we talked, I think I was on that short list, but it was really delayed. Like most of the time in the Olympic year, those decisions on court announcers are made kind of the December before a July or August Olympics. And I think this went all the way to May or all the way to April or something. Like it was really late. So all of us, like people I've worked with before international or in Tokyo, like we were all chatting like, what is going on? Other sports, their PA announcers had been selected. So we were all kind of like, wow, what's happening? It was a bit late, but
they just wanted the cream of the top.
Yeah. Let's go. Listen, one of the things that was the craziest was in Paris. So when we were back in Bercy, which is a suburb there in Paris where the stadium was, it was about, I can't remember exactly how many it's sat, but I think it was, I want to call it 18. It wasn't a huge venue. Like it was Lille where we were at for the qualifiers and all the qualifying rounds. That was a football stadium that was actually cut in half. So it was 27,000, 28,000. And that was insane. I mean, for every game, it was basically a sellout. There were no morning sessions or evening sessions that weren't sold out. So that was great. But then you get to Bercy and it's really tight. And then of course it's just all the best teams that are in the finals. But the weird thing about it was for most Olympic games or most high profile international games that I've done, what ends up happening is that your pass gets you everywhere. I mean, you're pretty much allowed to go everywhere, but there's a lot of security and like, they're kind of like, nah, hey, you're gonna have to go a different way. But for some reason in Bercy, and this wasn't a security breach, but I want to make sure everybody knows that. But for some reason, like our pass got us right through the hallway where all of the teams, the locker rooms for the teams, right? And just wide open, like 2 or 3 rooms where you're just walking by players. And then you have to go to this lift where you had to go up to the 6th floor or something like that to go and get any kind of pregame work that we were doing, like different briefings and things like that were all kind of up on that level. And then you had to also go through all that maze I was just talking about and then near the practice court. So there were multiple times when you're just walking by like KD or LeBron or Steph and you're kind of like, wow, this is super strange. Like I know I'm not supposed to say anything, so I'm not going to say anything. So I'm just going to be like, hey, how's it going? And just keep walking by. But it was the most surreal experience, like to be that close to those guys and those kinds of situations. It was great.
Nah, it sounds like an amazing experience. And yeah, as I said, once you got selected, I was happy for you. Now, let's get into the whole Sydney Kings and NBL. But before we kind of move on and talk about Sydney Kings, I want to talk about your international trip over there in France and the recognition and love that the NBL got. Do other competitions around the world know about the NBL? Or has that kind of gained some traction and things like that? Or what's that been like with the whole love for Australian basketball?
Yeah, no, the love for Australian basketball is absolutely off the Richter at the moment. Like it's going crazy. I mean, you've got our guys over there, and our international team is always, we didn't get the result that we wanted probably, but man, we were close. I mean, we took Serbia to all they had, and we had some good wins over there. It wasn't the result that Australia would have wanted, but I mean, like, it's the best in the world, and we're still right there, and we made it to the tournament, and we played hard. From the men's point of view, by the way, that's only the men's. I mean, obviously the women's getting bronze was like a highlight. I can talk about that. Like, if you said, what was the great, the call that you thought was the best or the most fun? It was that, man, calling them to the quarterfinals and then calling the Opals as winners of the bronze medal was outrageously amazing. And, in between, I'm going back and forth on Instagram with Kayla George going, like, when she had a lot of big games, Tess Magid too, like back and forth with them, just going, what did you just do? Like, you just scored like 15 and you had a double or whatever it was. And I was like, come on, man. So we were going back and forth. And I think that's the challenge with it, right? It's like, you continue to want to get this international work when you're a PA announcer, but you got to be really careful about being, you got to be unbiased. And I think I do that really well, but also you got a pretty big smile on your face when your home country does well. So it's really a unique experience.
Now, talk a bit about the whole unbiased to the PA announcer. I saw you posted up a clip of you introducing the Adelaide 36ers, and you kind of pissed them off, I guess, because they whooped our asses that game, man.
They did, yeah.
Because, look, a fortnight ago, the Sydney Kings were fighting for a top 2 finish, and now back-to-back losses. We're going to talk about each game individually. Because we were fighting for a sort of a top 2 finish, but now we're just clinging on to hopefully finishing 4th if results go our way. But let's talk about the Adelaide 36ers game where you pissed them off, 105-96.
Hey, that was after, by the way. Like, that post came after the game. So if it pissed people off, it was after the game. I try not to give anybody any juice. So if I can, like, we have good pregame scripts that we talk about, and we do mention other players and results and things, but I'm really careful with that. I don't write all the scripts that are out there, but I definitely edit them. And I try not to give any other teams any juice that they can use to get hype. But I have had a couple of players in the past kind of look over at me when I mention their names because we're talking about them pregame. I don't think that happens in a lot of arenas around the NBL, but it does with us. Huge amount of respect. That post that you're talking about, man, that got like 4,500 views or something. I was like, what is it about this little clip that was really about welcoming them out? Really, like, it wasn't anything. I'm not in charge of the music that was played. It was like some little flute piece or something underneath. Yeah. But it was great though. Like, and the disdain is real and not real. Like, when I bring out other teams, I'm not going to give them anything. Like, it's not. I'm just going to be. And now, please welcome the Adelaide 36ers. Like, that's it, and that's what we're going to give them. But like, we love anytime there's milestones with other players from any other team. Perth just had one the other night. We're happy to give players credit. I think it's just a respect thing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That's my style. That's the way that the Sydney Kings and Sydney Flames like it, and that's I'm right there for it. We should. When some player has a big milestone, even if it's not our player, we need to talk about that a bit.
100%, and I respect that too. Now, look into that game. Adelaide 36ers 105 defeating Sydney Kings 96. Jalen Adams, 43 points, 7 assists. I think that was a career high for him. And Kendrick Davis, 30 points, continuing his sort of case possibly for MVP. And Montrezl Harrell, 23 points, 11 boards. And Isaac Humphries, 19 points. But these guys just dominated us. They were too big, too strong. What was your biggest takeaway from this game when you were kind of calling it?
Yeah, listen, I think when Adelaide is involved this particular season, they're just not a great matchup for us. It is hard for us, and you're going to get those. Any level of basketball, this. Anybody that's watching this knows that, like, you just come up against teams, even if you're a great number 1 seed or if you've dominated your league, you always come up against like that one team that is a bad matchup. That is Adelaide for us. What do I think that has to do with? I mean, it's pretty easy to see on the court. It's like those guys have a great inside out game, and they can dominate the boards, and they can get the ball out to shooters, and they have really good shooters that are knocking down shots. Even Montrez was knocking down threes. I mean, like the hoop was so big that night, like it was like a hula hoop. Those guys just like they were getting buckets, whenever they wanted them, and that's a real challenge. I mean, I talked to my counterpart down in Wollongong as well, for Illawarra, and he said, I don't know this because I haven't looked this up, but I imagine it's correct, and somebody can correct us on this one, but that they haven't won a game against Adelaide yet either. So the Hawks might look at that matchup. Now, I don't know if that's true at this point where we're at when this podcast airs, but we were going back and forth. They're a very tough matchup for Wollongong as well. And I think I saw Brad Rosen or somebody say this the other day. It's like, hey, they're kind of their own worst enemy, Adelaide. You know what I mean? Like, if they really get locked in and focused, like, they could win the whole thing. There's no question about them. And I think Montrez, like, as much as he's had his battles with the fans and all that, like, how great is this? Like, this is great for the NBL, man. Like, we've got a villain, and he's happy to play it. So I think that's great. Isaac Humphries, I couldn't be more happy for that guy. He's an ex-Sydney King, and he's gone through a lot in his life. And being over in the States and getting his shot at the big time, and what that must have been like for a young guy over there, and being away from family, and like there's a lot of subcontext and stories around everybody's growth and where everybody's at. But I got nothing but love for him, and someday maybe he comes back and be a Sydney King as well again. But the biggest guy too is, like, I think you talked about Kendrick, like, man, like, if you are watching it on TV and you think he's quick, try sitting in my seat and watching that guy. That dude is quick. And one of his best things is, like, he can pull up in that quickness and knock down like a 15-footer just on a dime. And that's super tough. So, you're always collapsing on him. He's kicking, or he'll get around you. Like, he's real, man. He's a problem. But I think people underestimate. I know I'm giving a lot to Adelaide right now. Maybe it's because of that post, but I'd also say that, like, knowing DJ, right? Like, I've been fortunate enough. Like, he was on our team. I hung out with him a little bit when I had a chance to do summer league for the NBA, and he was playing. He and X were both playing at summer league then. Like, people just think he's a spot up shooter, like, and that's so wrong. Like, that guy can get to the rack anytime he wants. Yeah. So, like, you combine that, right? You got Kendrick gets there, you got DJ that gets there. They're both good shooters, and then you got bigs defending, making it tough at the rim for opponents and getting boards. It's like, come on, man, come on. Yeah. Like, that's a tough matchup for us or any other team, to be honest.
Honestly, they want. Sorry, with that, the Adelaide 36ers for me, they pretty much have the best starting five in the competition. And now that they got Sunday Detch on the bench too, playing that defense, they could make a run. But yeah, man, they just keep digging themselves in the foot by suspensions and like those little dramas, internal dramas. But
that's right. Like, coach, players, like, oh, you just never want to see it. And they're so, like, when you look at it from the outside, you just go, man, these guys are so close to having it all together. And then you get some internal stuff. As a fan, it just must be challenging to be an Adelaide fan. I'm going to ask you then. I respect them, obviously, but I'm a Kings fan.
So look, I got to ask you, if the Sydney Kings lose against Illawarra Hawks, we'll talk a bit more about that later on too. We're pretty much going to be facing the Adelaide 36ers in that play-in tournament first game.
Yep.
What's the chances? You just been hyping up Adelaide 36ers. Do the Kings have a chance?
I'm telling you, yeah. What are the chances? I think our chances are as good as anybody going up against those guys. I mean, I know there've been a bit of the bogeyman for us and a tough matchup for us, but also I have a lot of faith in every one of those guys, like all the way down the bench. Like, these are brothers. Like, those guys are playing for each other, and even though people might look at it, like, I have some people come up to me all the time giving me like, hey, this is what's wrong with Sydney, and hey, what about this player and that player? Here's what I can tell you. Like, the inside scoop is that these guys are all playing for each other. You've got, don't count Gorge out. Like, that guy has been doing this for a long, long time. And I think too many people have said things that, like, oh, like, maybe he's lost a step or done this or that. Like, that guy's as sharp as ever, man. Like, I see him every game. I see him before games, and he's as sharp as ever. So as far as Sydney having a chance, game plan and getting our pieces together and getting, I mean, like you got to think too, we've been injured a bit as well. Right. So Kelly Leal Pepe has been, a piece that has been really effective against teams like that. And cause he can play inside out and he's knocking down those threes. So I think anything is possible when it comes up to us playing Adelaide in that kind of environment, and we'll get them at home. So we haven't been successful yet, but that just means the odds are on our side that we're finally going to get one, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, man, because when you think about the whole Sydney Kings concept, bro, it's a deep, deep team, man. And if on their day, everyone's hitting their shots, everyone's doing their thing, bro, this team can win games and win series too in the playoffs. But for me, the thing that kind of, I guess, frustrates me, and I'm just going to be honest with you on this take here, because but I reckon management messed up this team. And the reason why I say that is, look, there was a clear weakness in this team, which was a big. Everyone can see that. Sometimes, not even a big name, just a big that can kind of play 10, 15 minutes to kind of grab some boards and do his things. But then they signed Lamonte Turner. Didn't work out. And then they lost Kelly Luape also. But because, as you said, man, when I was talking to Quat Noy, bro, this team is playing for each other. Cam Oliver is a testament to that because, bro, this hasn't been the season that he wanted. He's been riding the bench. He's been kind of taken off the court in crunch minutes. And when that happens to anyone, it hurts your pride. But he's kept his head up. He's kept doing his things. And that's why I just feel like if management fixed up that last signing and got a big man, this would have been a whole completely different season because, yeah, man. Like,
you know what? That's a take. That's a take, and I respect anybody's take on it, and you could be right. But I also will go back to the year that we brought in IC. So the same talk to Chris Pongrass at that time was that we were light. Like we needed another big or a dominant big, and we could go get one from somebody that just didn't, make an NBA squad or something like that. I mean, that tended to be the way that it worked, right? Is that you could start your season with 2 imports and then bring in a third or see how that spot looks and then go get somebody because you don't have to pay them the entire season. You just pay for what's left. And I remember the same kind of talk coming up when IC was in here. And that guy came in, gave leadership and just knocked down threes and got to the rim and was a good defender, obviously, as well. So, I mean, we all have our opinions on what it could be or how we would play it differently. But I would just say that's something that, we also had that same conversation around IC and then he came in and proved everybody wrong.
Well, fingers crossed, because we didn't get no IC coming in. We've got no one coming in. Lamonte Turner didn't even play a game for us.
That is, hey, listen, that's disappointing that didn't work out. And that's something that I think everybody can read between the lines when they saw the post-game conferences with Gorge. When he's saying, hey, we need this guard, we need somebody to come in, we need another piece. So he was making his case and he was explaining why. And I think he's really great at that. Like you look at any of those pressers, like Gorge's, his heart's on his sleeve, just like all of us and anybody else. Like he's not trying to hide anything or do anything. He's looking for that extra piece as well. And I mean, it's we didn't get that done. And that's a real challenge, but we gave it a try. Like we gave it a shot.
Yeah. And the thing that's
it's also hard, right? Like, oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it's also hard, right? I mean, like, listen, as it stands, there's not enough minutes for everyone. Yeah. So what do you do? Like that, I definitely don't want to be coaching that basketball team. Not because I wouldn't love it because those are all great guys and great players. I'd love to be around those guys in that situation. But man, trying to share minutes and doing that stuff with that team, that's every one of those guys wants to play. Like they all and they're
play. They all belong. They all should be starters in different teams and things like that. So I definitely agree with that. But I just feel like they missed the beat, not getting that big. And as I said, because of the minutes, you don't even need a big name big. You just need someone that can play 10, 15 minutes, give Cam Oliver, Xavier Cooks a rest and things like that. But
protect the rim a bit. Yeah, get some more boards. I get it. Yeah, I mean,
but man, the thing that honestly, and this is the reason why I say that, it was the game against Brisbane Bullets when Quat Noy came on for Cam Oliver. And then I think Tyrell Harrison and someone got like 4 offensive boards in a row. Like they were just jacking up shots. And even if they miss you're going to get the rebound and go again sort of thing. And I know the Kings won that game, but then I was like, bro, if this goes into a playoff series, like those possessions count. So that's where I kind of was with that. But yeah, look, the Sydney Kings 5-11 against the top 6 teams. So they have been struggling against the sort of bigger names. And that came fruition again up against the Perth Wildcats. That was a must-win game for the Kings. And yeah, Quatnoy, 24 points, Alex Tui, 23, Cam Oliver, double-double, 22 and 10 boards. But hey, man, Jalen Adams, 1 point, which was very, very, very frustrating. But man, the GOAT, Bryce Cotton, 30 points. The thing that I kind of assessed from both these games was, man, the Sydney Kings need to start better. Both games, they were down 11 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Why? What do you see?
Well, if you look,
as I said, you got the best seat in the house. What do you see from the start of these games, and how can they improve that?
Yeah, listen, it's a real head scratcher because you just have to go look at the quarter scores, and like there've been some games where we've done well in that start, but for the most part, in the games that you're talking about, especially at home, we've had a real challenge there, right? Mm-hmm. Like, man, like scoring 16 points in the first quarter and having an opponent score 32 or 30. And then coming back and actually winning quarters or tying a quarter and winning the next, the other two, like it's just like, hey, if we wouldn't have had that start, we would have been in some really great shape. And so it's super frustrating for fans and it's super frustrating for the guys, I know. And especially, I think if you go back and look at it, it's really not that the Kings were being stopped. It's just the ball won't go in the hole, man. Like we've had some really good shots in that first quarter. I don't know anybody, maybe one of the Adelaide games where they were playing some really good defense, but mostly we had some very good shots that just would not drop in that first. And I think it's just like anything else, right? Like in sport and basketball in particular, it's a mental game. So as a team, like you're sitting there going, oh crap, it's 10-2 and the other team's outscored us 10-2. Here we are first quarter again. Like we're just reliving this thing until we get out of it. And so I think there's a little bit of that probably that's happening as well. But man, what I think is like you look at this team and there have been games against the best teams in the comp and we have come up narrow, like just short. Melbourne, like there's the list goes on, right? Where we could have won that right at the end. And so I think it shows that we can compete with everybody, but when's the ignition going to hit? When is it going to ignite that we win those close ones and those must-win games? I think that's an obvious one.
Yeah, because watching the games from my side is the Sydney Kings, they know themselves that they're a talented team, and they know that, we are clutch in the fourth quarter. Jalen Adams does his thing. Quatnoy comes in, hits some clutch threes. Xavier Cooks kind of becomes a different defensive player during that fourth quarter sort of thing. But it's just, man, the start for me, the thing that I hate about it is, for me, it's like the players don't know their roles yet this late into the season. Like the starters, they keep changing, they keep fluctuating. So for me, it's like, if we can get that start right, I don't know what Gorge has to do and go, you know what, like this is our starters from now on, and do his thing from there. But yeah, if we can fix that start, I feel like we can compete with any of these teams. Because as I said, fourth quarter, Jalen Adams does his thing. Pretty much probably one of the most clutch players in the NBL this season. But yeah, I want to ask you about that game too, man. Is Bryce Cotton in career best form this season?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's crazy.
100%. Like that guy just makes me so angry, like all the time. Like he's so good, dude. Like
you'd probably be angry with a smile on your face.
It's true though. Angry for the best reasons of all, because I think it's great for basketball and it's great for the NBL, right? Bryce Cotton is on a different plane, man. Like that guy he's locked in. I saw him pregame that last game. He and I have really never talked that much over the years, but finally, like we were both back in the tunnel and he was going out for warm-ups and was like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, hey. And I said, because I was just telling him, like, it was the most surreal experience when I was over at RAC. So we had Hoops Fest this year. Yeah. And so I did round 0, if we want to call it that, because there's 29 games this season instead of 28, and everybody's first game was in Perth at Hoops Fest. And so I find myself in the position of calling Perth as a home game at RAC. And so, we were having a chat about that. And that was actually one of the most surreal experiences ever as well. And, but yeah, man, like that guy, come on, like, give me a break. Like he's playing career basketball right now. And if you're a Perth fan, if you're Perth management and you're sitting there, there's another dilemma, right? So here's the guy who's out of contract this year. Is he staying? Is he going? What are we going to do about it?
No, blank check, bro. Blank check for Bryce Cotton, especially for what he's done for that Perth Wildcats franchise. Because I remember I was talking to Mason Bragg, who plays in the NBL 1 East for Manly Seagulls. He was actually playing for the Perth Wildcats when Bryce Cotton came as a replacement mid-season.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, then Mason Bragg was pretty much like, fuck, there goes my minutes, bro. And then, yeah, the rest of
there it is. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah,
no,
just like
he's phenomenal, man.
And that's the thing, man. He just keeps getting better and better. Like you think, oh man, because there's some games where you think, bro, fuck, this guy's gonna drop 60. Like he's gonna drop 60, he's gonna drop 50, and he just keeps going and going. And for me, that's what kind of like I know Illawarra Hawks. We're gonna talk about Illawarra Hawks, but for me, that's why. Actually, no, you know what? We'll talk a bit about that later on. But look, the Sydney Kings, a big clash up against the Illawarra Hawks on Friday. Now, the Illawarra Hawks have punked us the last 5 games. They've beaten us 5 times out of the last 5 games. And for Sydney to move into that top 4 spot, we have to win. And then we have to help Melbourne United do us a favour and beat South East Melbourne Phoenix in the throwdown on Saturday. Can we beat them? And what's the key? What's the key? Like, who has to step up?
Listen, let me give you a little background. So that Hoops Fest thing I was talking about. So when I was over there for Hoops Fest calling games over there, one of the games I had was Illawarra. And what I couldn't believe when I first watched that team in that first game of the season, everybody has rust, right? Like you see it in those first few games. But you know what, Illawarra? No rust. Those guys looked like they had been playing together for 2-3 years. And they had some new players, obviously, on that team. So my hat goes off to them. Like they were ready from preseason or that first game of the season, which was game 0 at Hoops Fest. They were absolutely ready for it. And so I knew right then. I went, yep, these guys are going to be really tough. If they don't have injuries, then we're going to be okay. I haven't done the math on it. Have you done the math on it around like, is it worth it? Does Illawarra need it? Like, does Illawarra need this?
Look, Illawarra are playing right now up against the New Zealand Breakers. So if they win that game, they pretty much lock up first place. I know Trey Kell isn't playing. They might be resting for the back-to-back. So they might rest a few players if they take care of business. So could kind of fall into the – but that's the thing. For the Sydney Kings, I feel like they have to beat Illawarra Hawks, regardless of who's on the court or anything like that. Because I remember the first game, Illawarra Hawks up against Sydney Kings. Illawarra Hawks beat us, and then William Hickey came out and said, you know what, we're sick of the disrespect, because I think there was a game where someone clapped or something, did a sleep logo on them, and then he's like, no, we're sick of the disrespect, like we mean business. And from there, that's when I was like, fuck, the Illawarra Hawks are the real deal this season, man. Like
they are real.
And the thing that I love about the Illawarra Hawks is everyone knows their role. From 1 to about 9 to 10, they know their role. It didn't work with Darius Days in the starting unit. So they're like, all right, Mason Peatling, you come into the starting unit. And then Darius Days has been one of the best players coming off the bench. So, but everyone knows their role. And that's the thing that shits me about the whole Sydney Kings thing is it's been this late into the season and people are still kind of chopping and changing the starting lineups or Ball Coy into the lineup and things like that. So I feel like Kings
more like, yeah, I mean, I get that take, but I'll counter that though by saying that, like, you know, Bull Qual was like, he was injured and then he's coming back on probably, I don't know any of this, by the way, like, but I would imagine, and everybody that's a armchair viewer would probably know this as well. It's like, he was probably on restricted minutes. Like, so getting him back in shape enough to be, you know, and feeling confident enough on whatever that injury was, that getting him back into that lineup would take some time. So, you know, that's a problem. Like I said, Kelly played a lot and he's been out. So I think I understand the frustration that people might have and the appearance of like, well, hey, you guys can't figure it out. And there was definitely a period of time. And I think Gorge would probably say the same thing, right? It's like, hey, we were trying to figure out, you know, my guys and who were my guys. And especially if anybody knows Brian Gorge, and it's like, he's a defensive minded coach. You got to be hustling all the time and really working on D. And so he was trying to find his guys, and he said as much in his press conferences, right? So there was a time for that, but I do think it started to come together in the last third for sure around what people's roles are and what they were going to do. But I think it was interrupted a bit by injury. So don't, you know, like, it's a fair take. Everybody's entitled, but also have that consideration around, like, they also had to deal with that as well. I think because Sydney is so deep, that people just don't go. They just go like, oh, well, you've had your whole team. Like you haven't had any injury problems, and we've had some big injury problems. I also don't know. Again, I don't know any more than the next guy, but like I watched JA run around the court on that last game, his back looks sore, man. Like he's not a guy that complains. Like he's not grabbing his back and going, oh, and ow, and doing whatever. He's just kind of the same dude the whole time. And so you'd really have to know, which none of us except for the the inner workings of the Kings know, like what is the deal with that back and how is he? I mean, looks okay when he's putting up 43, but like like you come to a game like that, I'm sure there was a focus from Perth to stop him. They did a good job not taking anything away from those guys, but I also think like it's sore. There's something probably happening there, I think.
No, and also I respect you kind of say, you know what, I kind of push back on your take about the whole thing, because look, for me looking at it is kind of like, and when you're kind of like trying to build, like you're a CEO now, you're trying to build a whole roster and things like that. You want people to know their roles and all that stuff. But Bull Cole, his offense has taken off lately. And that's what I'm saying. Even the last few games, because before these two games up against Adelaide 36ers and the Wildcats, we were looking good, man. The team was looking good. But then, as I said, it's the start, those first quarters, if we can fix them up, I feel like this team can compete. But I feel like we need to be in the top four. We need to be in the top four.
Man, you said it. Like I think that's the best take so far is that I think if you clean up that first quarter a bit, look at the difference it would make in the games that we're playing. If you clean that up, even if you tighten that up to like a 5-point difference, either way, plus or minus 5 in the first quarter, this is a much different. There's much different results happening. And look at it. Like what are we now? 16 and 12. 16 and 12, right? 28, and with one play, 29. So we're 16 and 12 with the same season, that in the same amount of games that we've had when we played championship basketball, 2-3 seasons ago. Those seasons were 19 and 9, both of those seasons when we won the championship. Our regular seasons were 19 and 9. So right now, playing the same amount of games, we're 3 losses different than where we were when we won the championship. So. And I know it's a different league and it's different competitors and different teams, and we're a different team. But just to put it in perspective, and 3 games is a lot when you get down to a 28-game season. Again, this is 29, but I'm just going back to the way it was in the championship years. Like, I think we're sitting okay. Like, would I like to see us, cure that first quarter thing? Of course, everybody, the fans, and it's there for the curing. But we've proven that we can play right with everybody in the comp. Adelaide is a problem for us, but that's just one of those teams that it's a hard matchup. And you got like, DJ just wants, he wants to rip our guts out. Right. And so, and you have those matchups going like, dude, like just all of those it's the perfect storm for our Sydney Kings is Adelaide, right? They've got the villain, they're big. They've got a guard that wants to rip our guts out. They used to play for us. That's kind of where it's at. But man, our numbers up, man. Like we've had a few losses of those guys, but like odds say we're going to get one. So Adelaide, look out if we do meet you in that 5-6 matchup. Look out.
Hopefully we can avoid them and move up to 4th, and then versus either Perth Wildcats or Melbourne United. But yeah, look, and I want to talk to you about that also, because I'm going to run a few stats. Who is the most important player for the Sydney Kings in their run home, and who's a smoky? So you got here Jalen Adams, 18.1 points per game, 6.1 assists. Xavier Cooks, 15.3 points per game, 8.7 rebounds. Quat Noy, 14.8 points, and Cam Oliver, 12.1 points and 7 rebounds. Which player, or if there's another player that I kind of didn't mention, who's your main piece that has to step up for the Sydney Kings to get this done?
Okay, so the answer of all answers is always JA. Like anytime that you're in a press conference, Brian Gorgian, anytime you're just looking at the games or listening to any other commentators or just your own take by watching it, how JA goes is how the Sydney Kings go. There is no question about that. And I think that's why you would have seen Brian looking for that other piece and why it would have been a guard instead of a big like we're all talking about. That's probably why. Get him, just like he said, get JA playing off the ball, get him some relief so he doesn't have to carry everything. And I think that's, no disrespect to Sean or Zay. Like those guys are doing an amazing job. I love those guys. but having that other guard that could be that penetrator and potential scorer is and runs floor general kind of thing as well. It's saying that though, I thought, man, I think. Sorry, I'm drifting a bit, but like Isaiah Leafa has played some outstanding defense in the last couple of runs. Like I thought he was outstanding. And Sean Bruce, when you look at him out the point, and he's just like, hey, he's what you expect like that floor general to do. Like he's sitting there, he's got that experience. It's like, hold up, fellas, like hang on, let's run the thing we're supposed to run, and he gets him back into it. So I have huge love for those guys. But as JA goes the Sydney Kings. I believe that wholeheartedly, and I think everybody else would believe that as well. Beyond that, man, oh God, it's so hard. Like I'm not even going to mention Quatnoy, because Quatnoy he's already doing his thing, and I think anybody that's out there saying like, oh, he should be in the starting lineup, I actually don't. Like, should he be, or could he be, are two different conversations. Should he be? No. He's the guy that comes off the bench. That's his role. You talked about role playing. That's where he should be right now. Could he be? Of course he could be. Would it help with our first quarter lows? Well, then, yeah, maybe. But then what happens when you need that first injection off the bench and he's not there? So there's a lot going on there that people way smarter than me can figure out. So I'm not going to mention him, but I would say the two other guys, I mean, X is X. X is going to get his, like, he's going to get almost a double-double every night. So I'm not going to talk about him either. But Cam Oliver, like that guy, and I think he's a key. And I would love to see that. I'd love to see Bull Quall continue his offensive threat. I think he used to light us up, man, like that guy. I called his name so many times with such a drawl in my voice. It was just like, Bull Quall again. Like that guy was like ridiculous, right? Like, and so, and he has that capability. He's playing a little bit different role now. And like we said, he had an injury he was packing. So he's more than just defense. And I think when that starts to open up a bit, you know, and it has, you're right, it has. So to see that, I think those two guys, so Cam and Bull Quall, just get it done. Those are our two guys. And for Cam, like I have just enjoyed my time this year with Cam Oliver, man. Like I love that guy. Like the conversations and just him being a part of the team. The thing that I just want him to just the thing that he was given, like he was filling up the stats in these last few games. He's really coming on, especially in that starting role again. But the one thing that eluded him a little bit was his patented shot, and I think it was just lack of minutes potentially, or just concentrating on other things. Is that little spin that he does down there and then gets that shot away, that fadeaway away, that eluded him a little bit on some of these games. He was getting, cuts down the lane, dunks, outside shot was also on. But that little thing like, oh, just short. Oh, if that comes on it as well, which I know it will, it's just a matter of time. Oh, look out. Like it's over. Like it's over. So when he's defensive minded and pulling down rebounds and getting offense, like that's a problem for Illawarra as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you said, because as I said, we all know what Jalen Adams is and can do, especially in that fourth quarter. But for me, the most important player for the Sydney Kings in the run home is Cam Oliver, because of that one thing that you just said, the rebounds, that defensive tenacity. Because bro, he's a big body. So if he's there, hungry and boxing out and doing his thing, he kind of helps this team in the long run. But yeah, man.
Hey, by the way, I don't have stats on this, by the way, so somebody can get on here and prove me wrong. But it seems to me, just watching the last, I want to say 4 or 5 games with Cam, like there was some foul trouble early and some frustration around referees with fouls a little bit during the season. But right now, I don't think that's been a problem. Somebody have to look up the stats. But it seems to me, sitting where I'm sitting, it really hasn't been that big an issue for Cam. And I know there's a minutes thing, how many minutes did he get and all the rest, but like he's playing a different brand of defense right now. He's playing even smarter than he was in the earlier parts of the season around what do the referees look for and what can I get away with and what does my defense have to adjust to. I think he's got that down a lot right now, and we need that. The other guy we didn't even mention, dude. Another guy we didn't even mention, not to mention Zay, Bruce. We talked about those guys. Tyler Robertson, but like we didn't talk about Tui. Like that guy, like he lit it up. Something about when he plays Perth, like it opened up for him and his outside shot. And I'm so excited for him and what he's going to do, and also, for international basketball. I think that guy, mark my words, I reckon Alex Tui with Josh Giddey, those two guys are the best FIBA players. Are going to be two of the best FIBA players going around international basketball. 100%. They're built for it. He's a FIBA, he's going to go well in the NBA and do whatever he's going to do. But and Josh Giddey too, obviously, duh. Yeah. But those two guys in FIBA, look out, man! This is going to be exciting for Australia in the next few years.
I don't mean to be selfish, but I hope to God Detroit Pistons select Alex Tui, man. I hope we select him straight up because that's what we need. Yeah, I'm a Pistons guy, big Pistons guy. So I'm loving the season, and they've kind of helped me with my sort of rehab process that I'm going through at the moment. Actually seeing some winning basketball because this time last year, I think we were 4 wins and 50 losses at this time. So yeah, but I want to bring
Rasheed, right? You remember Rasheed Wallace, that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The bad boy Pistons, the 03 team, 04 team, that was the team that kind of made me fall in love with the Pistons. Ben Wallace. It was Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups.
Oh, Ben Wallace, dude. He was a beast.
And Tayshaun Prince,
hey, man, go ahead. What?
No, I say Tayshaun Prince. Because he was a mad defender, and that's the way I kind of played the game. And then everyone's like, "Bro, you remind me of Tayshaun Prince," and I was like, "Fuck, all right, let's go."
That's a compliment. Damn, yeah. That's the best. Good. No, I was just gonna say, Sheed, man, when he played for the Trailblazers, I had one night out with that guy. I don't know if I shared this story last time or not, but just very, very quick. I was out at a bar in Portland. That's my hometown, by the way. That's where I'm from. I've been in Australia 23 years, I think, coming up, but full on Australian now. But anyway, he was at a bar over there, and it was during the time when he was getting technical fouls just for looking at people, and he looked at me across a bar over there, he looked at me at the same way, and I'm like, yeah. I would have teched that guy too. I would have teched that. It was very scary.
Beautiful. Now, hey, look, we're gonna ask before we kind of end the whole NBL segment and talk a bit about the whole Sydney Flames and the North basketball. My love of the game question to you is your top 2 moments from this season to date from the Sydney Kings. It's 2 plays.
Kayla George and her 5,000, calling that would just go down forever for me. To be a part of that, being a part of the milestone for Kayla George. I think she's not just a quality human being, and she's actually quite good at basketball. I don't know if you've noticed. She's just one of the most fun people to be around. She takes her business seriously, but I don't know that she takes life seriously. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And she's that kind of human. And I've got all the time in the world for people like that. And she's right up there on my list. So that call and the other calls that I've made for her milestones, I'm a huge fan that. So that, and then I got to be selfish on this, right? There's awesome talent on that team. And I love Ren being an assistant coach. I love Guy Malloy. I think that guy is super smart, and doesn't take a guy like me to talk about that. Everybody knows. But I think I'm going to be selfish in answering your question. I could go with Celeste Taylor. I could go with the obvious Shanice Swains. This is big time, right? These players are fantastic. But I'm just going to be selfish right now and go Carla Pittman and Caitlin Martin when they're on the court, and I call them, and Caitlin Martin's getting minutes at the end of the game. It's they're players that are on the roster, but or she is a player that on the roster, and then Carla Pittman coming up and actually playing some big minutes. The game that she played against Sammy Whitcomb, right? Defensively, she was shutting Sammy down as much as you can ever shut Sammy down, and you can't really shut Sammy down completely. And so I'm just going to be selfish. And the reason, obviously, in case you don't know, the reason I'm selfish is those are both North's players right here.
So they've been signed up for the North basketball. But let's talk about the Sydney Flames, man. Look, there's 3 games to go left in the season. They're just hanging into a top 4 spot.
Yeah.
And they're locking in.
I don't know if we're just hanging. I don't know. I'm going to challenge you on that one again. Are we just hanging? I mean, we had a little bit of a team.
What I mean by you got the top 3 teams. I know Bendigo's kind of running away with the competition, 18-2 at the moment, and then you got your Sydney Flames in 4th spot with 7 wins. I think 11 or 12 losses. So they're going to be in the final with a losing record. Can they hold on to that 4 and then make some noise?
Yeah, listen, yes is the answer to that. I think they will, and they're going to make some noise. Again, this has been challenging. There's injury questions there. I mean, everybody gets injured. There's always players on it. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's been a tough season for that. But if you just watch the sequences of games where they're delivering on the potential of what this team could be, it's almost scary to look at. Like they've got some incredible talent on that team, and I think they're going to be primed. I think they're going to be ready to take this into the four. I think again, I'm not that great a math guy. Like I don't get right down to it, but somebody else could answer this question better. But I think we have to win one of our last three to kind of secure that. I think that's where we're at.
I think two. You got to win two because the other team that's coming fifth has got 7 wins also.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's a point split or something like that. But yeah, 1 or 2 games out of these last 3, it'll be tough. But we've got 2 at home and 1 in Canberra, I think. So yeah, I look forward to that. And because they can heat up at any time. I was going to say they can heat up at any time.
Because I saw the last game. I think that Schwein 36 points. The last game that they had, she was killing it.
Yeah, dude. And Celeste Taylor, like she is a bucket. Like she's crushing it, and just she's finding her rhythm and finding space and just getting the job done. She's just another one of those players. It's like, oh, who's going to get a bucket? It's going to be her. It's going to be Shanice. Kayla. Like, come on.
Hopefully the next game that you go, hopefully in about like 3 weeks' time, hopefully I'll be all right. Let me know and I'll come down and watch the game also.
Man, get out there. Yeah, like just let me know you're coming. You're my guest. Yeah. Like I can tell you when those games are 15th and 19th, I think. 15th and 19th. Is that right? Yeah, I think so.
Beautiful. Now, hey, let's talk about it. You're wrapping up the North's hat there. The North CEO announced this season. How's that like, man? And what made you get into the whole CEO role? Like,
it's a good question. A super good question. Here's the lowdown. So about 2 years ago, my background is, I think people would know me from my court announcing, and that's great. I think I've a huge passion for that. I got into that by auditioning for the Portland Trail Blazers way back in the late 90s, and I came probably second in that race. And Mark Mason, who does it now, he got that job and he still does it now. So I don't feel so bad. Mark's a great guy, and they've done well over there. And also, if I'd have got that job in Portland, there's no way I would have come to Australia. Like, who gives up that job, right? So that's that sliding doors moment. So my daytime career was advertising executive. So like I've owned multiple advertising agencies, and I still am an owner of an agency here in Sydney. It's been going for 16 years. So I have experience in not just advertising, building brands, but also how to make businesses work. So I love that part of my brain and other people that get involved in business building and the economics around making businesses commercially viable and all the rest. And so part of that is sponsorship, integration, and all the rest. And I just had a thought a couple of years ago. I love announcing, and I really love the advertising role that I do, but I'd like to spend more time around the game. So what does that look like? And so I started putting feelers out to the league. I started putting feelers out to Hoops Capital. I've done some project works for Hoops Capital as well, beyond just announcing. And then this role came up, and I had a chat to my predecessor, Brett McTavish, who's an outstanding human, great guy. And he was leaving this role, and I talked to him about it and had a coffee. And I said, hey, maybe that'd be something that I could put my hat in the ring on. And so I did. And lots of interviews with some really great people for the job. I was fortunate enough to come up and get the job. The board gave me the job, and that started in June. Here we are in February, and there's no place I'd rather be. I love this place. I've got an amazing team around me, and there's so much energy here, like around where we want to go and what we want to do. We treat this less like community basketball or local sport or grassroots. Only in the most positive sense do we really associate it with that. This is a business, and we don't pretend to be the NBA or the NBL or anybody else. We're just going to be who we are, and we think that the value exchange that we have between our customers, who are the people that play here in domestic comp, people that come and take our development training, and the people that come and watch basketball here, they deserve as good of experience as we can give them, and that's what we're doing. And everybody's rallying around that, and we've got a super, super good energy going on right now. I'm excited. If you can't tell, like it's a little. No,
I'll take my hats off. Yeah, I'll take my hats off to you, because I remember seeing the announcement. I think you said like mid last year, towards the end of last year. Eric Stevens, the CEO, and I was like, fuck, man, that's hectic, because just talking to you about basketball, man, you're so passionate about it. You love the game, and you're also about the whole player development, starting young, doing things the right way. And then from there, you can kind of enjoy the experience and see where basketball can take you, because it's a worldwide game now. It can take you anywhere. But I love the way you said it, man. You know what? You kind of just like, you know what? This is a business, and let's see what we can do to make this successful. And you put your face pretty much as the face of it. Because, as I said, man, I've been seeing your face all over these videos now, Norths.
You're going to see a bit.
I've never been interested before in the whole bathroom renovation. Now I'm like, let's see this bathroom. So it's good.
Let's see how this comes together. Yeah, listen, that's super generous of you, man. Thank you. I think the thing about it is like, I'm not in it for ego. Like, that's not. I do posting. I don't have huge followings. I'm not looking for endorsement deals or anything like that. But what I do believe is that somebody in any kind of business, when it comes down to advertising or connecting with consumers or connecting with members or whoever we're connecting with, I do think that personal one-to-one thing, that's what gets the job done. And right now, that's me. I'm trained in it. I'm comfortable with it, but it's not coming from a place of ego. It's really just going like, hey, I want to connect. I have an important job here, and I want to connect with everyone. Every member. Like, I'd like to shake hands with all 5,000 and some odd people that are here that play here or participate. That's my thing. And these bathrooms, like you mentioned, like, it seems like the weirdest thing, but like, check this, man. Like, so I played here for 15 years. Like, this is what was my spiritual home of basketball when I first got to Australia. I played at the KGV a little bit, and then I came to North. It was all my boys that I met at the Kings, these mad Croatian guys, like, still friends, lifelong friends with to this day. And I played here for a long time. I love this place. I absolutely love it and always have. And so ending up back here, I'm looking out right now onto the court where, tons of memories happen for me. Yeah. And so this is a real love thing for me. And I'm so stoked to be here.
Now, hey, let's talk about it, man. Your men's team and women's team. We'll start with the men's team. You've got some big names coming back. You got Cooper Wilkes, Lewis Holy, Robbie Moore. I think you started off the whole season by announcing Matty Waiter. Yeah. All these boys, man. What's the take? Because as I said, like, looking at these names, you don't have an import signing yet. So what's the vision for this men's team?
All right, let's talk about it, because there's a lot of this going on out there right now. I think, like, at least I'm hearing some of this stuff around, like, oh, Norths, they're backing off. They're not going to have an import. They're going backwards, whatever. Like, let people talk. They can talk all they want. We're putting together a team that we think is going to be pretty competitive when it comes down to NBL 1 East. I will say this, though, NBL 1 East, watch out for it. I don't think everything is done yet. There's some stuff that if you're a fan of NBL 1 and particularly NBL 1 East, either from us or other teams, you're going to see some surprises coming up that haven't been announced yet. So just keep your eyes peeled on that. And the East is going to get way more competitive. It already has. There's already people that you've seen come in, right? Like, God, who am I talking about? Oh, there's one.
There's Jasper Rentoy from
Jasper Rentoy, like, yeah. So I mean, like, all these players that are starting to come up in the East right now, that we're going to have a competitive East. As far as Norths goes, it starts with the coach, and that's Tommy Garlip. And I've known Tommy since Kings days, and it's a pleasure to work side by side with him. This is not my expertise around putting teams together. It's not my job. It's not what I do. He's an expert. That's what he does. We talk about things, and then I just go. That's what we do. We put the button. We push the button and make it happen. But we have some very exciting players, and when you've got a coach that has that much passion to win and that much of a record of success, some good things are going to happen around here.
Yeah. And as I said, man, love of the game. Kind of started covering the NBL 1 East, and I can't wait to actually cover the whole season again. I'm actually doing the commentary for the Bankstown Bruins. So every home game for women's and men's, and also doing sort of some work with the whole promotion for Bankstown Bruins with their social media team. So really looking forward to it. Also going to be covering the rest of the league as I did last year, but with a more focus on Bankstown Bruins this season. So I actually can't wait for it, man, because as I said, it's going to be a stack season. And I know it sounds pretty crappy, but William Cranston now leaving the Maitland Mustangs has kind of just opened up the whole competition. Matty Gray also going to Aubrey. So, man, it's going to be a cracker season.
Isn't Kadee? That's what I was thinking about. Kadee, isn't he playing? Is he playing for you guys over there? Is he playing for? Who's he playing for? Does he play for Bankstown?
He hasn't signed yet. I've been hearing a few things too, but look,
This is what I'm talking about, man. The East is going to get competitive. There's some stuff coming.
Look, yeah, I do kind of know a bit of information. I don't know if it's the actual Bruins, but yeah, I heard that. Look, you know what? It is a possibility that Jason Kadee is coming. But so yeah, look, it's going to be.
The guy almost ran me over with his car one time.
Oh man, well, hopefully he can do it to you in the grand final.
Kadee running me over with his car in Melbourne at that big, the big Melbourne junior reps tournament that goes on every year. Yeah. I was down there going to rent a car. I was in the parking garage at the airport, and then his car squeals around. Jason Kadee, he's going to run me over. I was like, what are you doing?
Now, let's talk about your women's team. Look, they've won the title before. You've kind of brought back a lot of players. As you said, there's a few players there from the Sydney Flames coming also. And you also signed Jolene Anderson. What's the vision like for this women's team, and what's the goals?
Man, more of the same. I think again, it starts from the coach and works its way down, right? And the organization obviously as well. So we've, well before I got here, I think Brett, who I mentioned before, big believer in making sure we treat imports correctly, and like we make it a big experience for them, and making sure players are looked after and all the rest. So as far as our women's team goes, like I'm pretty sure we have like 7 or 8 returners from that 2023 season where we won the championship. So we are going to be tough to handle. And not to mention Maddie O'Hare, like last year was that, I mean, she's always been good, right? But like last year was a breakout season. She's a bucket, man. Like she's going to work. And you add in like Carla Pittman, Caitlin Martin from the Flames, like that. There's a very strong team. Yeah. And we got Jess Bygate back, which she's always a problem. Like if I was playing against that team, I would not want to play. I told her this the other night. I saw her training. I was like, I'm so glad. Like if I was your teammate, I would be so glad that I'm playing with you and not against you. Like she's a rugby player, dude. Like that's what I mean. And we've all played against really physical players. That's her.
And that's the thing, but even the NBL 1 East like women's game, it's amazing to watch. Like I remember last year, man, I went down to the Manly game, and I think it was Albury up against Manly, and bro, that quality of match was like, it was amazing, man. And especially seeing, and the thing that I love about it, and the thing I love about the whole NBL 1 East concept is the men and women's team kind of like travel together, and they kind of build that whole camaraderie, and they kind of support each other. And man, it was just an amazing buzz. And hopefully, fingers crossed, God willing, if I have the time, I'm actually going to be covering a lot more of the women's game also this season.
Yeah,
so it'll be good to watch. Now, look, hey, before we kind of wrap up the show, I got 3 questions.
Getting started. Why are we wrapping up, man? Like I'm just getting started. Let's go.
Let's go. What do you want to talk about the whole? Nah, look, we'll talk a bit more. But look, I want to ask you 3 fan questions. 3 fan questions. The first one is from Love of the Game. It's a Love of the Game question from myself.
Love it.
Would you rather a Sydney Kings title or a North Bears basketball title?
You can't put that on me, man. You can't put that on. I want both.
Man. Yeah, but that's the question. You got to choose one. You know, you're being selfish before saying, you know what, you're gonna choose your North girls. So, just asking the question: would you rather a North title? Or
I am absolutely screwed either way I answer this question. For right now, because it's in the mood I'm in, I guess. I'm just gonna say for right now, I'd love to get that North title. I'd love to get our either men's, women's, both. Like I'd love to see these guys get as far as they can get. It doesn't mean I don't have huge mad love for my Kings as well. I'm always looking for a championship there. But I will say this on the Kings. I remember having this conversation with Pongrass and Chris Pongrass and kind of the ownership group early on, and I said, what a commitment. If you look at the players that are contracted to Sydney over a 3-year period, you can tell that this is a 3-year job. And they're trying to get championships every year, but there's a 3-year mission in that window. So maybe I'll use that as my excuse to go, hey, there's a window there, but I'm going to go for Norse on that answer.
You know what? I respect you for answering the question firstly, but secondly, I actually kind of made a bet with myself that he would answer North's basketball. He would say North's basketball, and yeah, you're the CEO, man. You're the man for us. So yeah, congrats and fair play to you. Hopefully, there's another title there on the sort of that podium behind you. I know there's one already there, so let's get another one there.
There it is, right there. I tell you what, man, like I couldn't be in this office wearing this hat if I said Kings on this one. As much as I love my Sydney Kings, I always want championships there. But man, I'd love to see us get another banner up here.
Nah, beautiful. Second question: what advice can you give to an individual looking to be a court announcer?
Man, super good. What's the advice? The biggest advice I think is like you just got to get reps in, man. It's like it's nothing else. There's 2 things I'd say. get reps in wherever you can get them. Do it in your wherever the high schools are that they've got events. Just get out there and get known if you can. I think that if somebody wants to be a spotter, it's really hard. It would be really hard for somebody coming into this to try to listen to a game on television with the commentators on top of that to hear stuff. Really difficult to do that. So you kind of have to go to games. Really expensive to go to every NBL venue in the country and listen to different announcers and things. But what you could do, just in flights alone, by the way, but what you could do is find someone like me or someone where you could spot. And if you can't spot at a NBL game, even NBL 1 games, go and sit there and listen to the way that while you're spotting for them. And listen, it's hard because not everybody wants a spotter there or whatever. And even like for me, like those days are, probably over, but like I'm open to it. Like I think that anybody, where are you going to get your start? So if we can get your start and get people in here, whether it's women or men or whoever that want to come in and have a go at it, I'm backing them. And I think that's a good way to start. Be a spotter and then go get your reps in wherever you can get them. That's what I would do. And one last thing on that is I'd say, just remember less is more. Just less is more. Just you don't have to talk all the time. I mean, I had to break that habit. Like when I started, it was too much talk.
The thing that I love about it, and I'm just going to tell you honestly, like on my phone, I have you under Eric SK. So Eric Sickhunt, because you're a Sickhunt, straight out. Honestly, there's no other way to say it, because I remember when I first started getting into the whole NBL and East landscape, I wanted to be a court announcer. Like that was actually my aim, my goal. And I reached out to you and you said, yeah, come on down, bro. Come sit with me. And I actually sat down with you and I actually saw the way you actually prepare. You got all the names, you kind of tick all the boxes to make your life easier instead of going there and like stressing out. And you're meticulous in it too. Like you kind of have your approach, like the players. I remember you doing your court announcing, introducing the players, especially the North players. You kind of had like a little flow for them about a few of their sayings, and you just enjoyed it. And for me, I was kind of looking at it like, man, like this guy loves what he does. Like you have to love what you do, and at the same time, it was kind of like the emotion that you put into it too. Like you build those connections with those players, and that's something that, as you said, it takes over time, repetition. And after that, I kind of watched and I was like, all right, I want to go try it. So I actually did a few like local comps and things like that, and that's why I put it down as SC, because bro, like you were the first person that kind of gave me the opportunity. That was kind of like, you know what, yeah, come sit down with me. You kind of like, yeah, bro, just come learn, come listen. And I was like, I appreciate that so much. And honestly, I wouldn't be where I am right now without that. And even me doing the show, like as I said, I just had my accident, so I'm starting to sweat now, so I'm getting like cream and stuff like that. But I was very nervous about it, like just putting my face out there for the first time and things like that after the burn. But I was like, bro, I'm doing it with Eric and I actually feel calm with you. So that's why I just want to say thank you for that. And anyone that is interested, just reach out to him. Because you're a good dude, bro. So I love that about you. So I just want to say thank you for that too.
No, man, you're absolutely welcome. And right here, like anything you need, like you and I talk, on the regular. So, anything you need. I know you've been through a tough time lately. We, don't have to get into that right now, but like I'm super proud of you for continuing this on. You've been through a lot in personally what's going on with you, and I got a lot of love for you and huge respect for just coming back on. Keep living it, keep doing it, keep driving it, and man, I'll do anything for people that are good humans and that want to get somewhere and want to put the work in. And you are definitely one of those people. So I'm right here for you, day or night, anytime.
No, I appreciate that, man. As I said, that's why when I see you doing your thing, it gives me goosebumps too, because I know how much you love it and how much you're kind of enjoying it. So I love that. And question number 3.
There's no understatement in that, man. Like you just have to look at the video clips. Like I love everything about being in that chair.
Yeah, even just talking about it now, like you can see your eyes glowing and stuff like that. You got that little sparkle in your eye. You're loving life at the moment. So no, really do love what you're doing. And I know I'm going to be doing a bit of the Bankstown Bruins, but I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Norths. And yeah, fingers crossed, NB1 East to kind of get down and talk to you again. But question number 3 is your favorite all-time player to watch live.
Wow, that is brutal.
Good question.
I've been really fortunate. Like that's my problem, is that I've been really fortunate to say like I've called games with everyone, like not everyone, but like a lot of everyone. And so I think that's a really tough question. My favorite player to watch live, I'm just going to go back like I'm gonna split this. I'm gonna say like women's first, and then men's, and I think I'm gonna go right back to it. Like international or Flames, I'm gonna go with Kayla George. I could also throw in a Tess Magin. I could also throw in, like, there's a number of ones. Like, I'm just big fans. I'm big fans of who they are, and it's not even just because they're Australian players. Beck Allen, like, massive fan. Like, we have just such good people here, and I think what we don't realize in Australia sometimes is that they're so approachable and they're such good, kind people. Like, they're signing autographs and making girls' days, boys too. Like, when they show up at a Flames game or at some Australian event and they're signing stuff, like, I just could not be more proud of who we are as a playing group around Australia for those kinds of players. I am just flattened by just how amazingly generous they are. So I'm going to say that. And then from a men's perspective, I'll skip the Aussies because it's obvious that'd be the same answer as the women. So I'm going to skip that. But one thing that I thought was one thing I really enjoyed when I was over in the US, when I was over in Paris, is when I was watching Giannis, there was something I don't think I saw on TV ever, and also probably that I ever saw that close, because my seats are pretty good for any kind of game that I'm calling. And when you see that guy on the court, there is zero body fat. I mean, the guy must be negative body fat. I don't know how that's even possible, right? But it's less the chiseled physique, which is impressive, by the way. But it's more how fast he is, and I don't think people understand it. When you watch it on TV, it all kind of looks the same. When you're in person, and when I was in Paris, like to watch him live, and that's your question, Giannis was a freak. I mean, that's the nickname. But like to see how fast he is and in control of his body in those situations is poetry. It's poetry.
Yeah, it's poetry with a bit of authority also, man. So it's good to watch. Now, hey, look, I just thought about a last question that I got to ask you before we finish off the show. And I'm going to ask you, because you're a CEO, yeah? So I want to get you to put on your CEO hat, your GM hat, and put on the Dallas Mavericks hat, and ask yourself, what reasoning could you have for trading Luka for AD and just one first-round pick in return? And we know what Max Christie also, but what reason? Because I still can't believe that trade happened, man. I can't believe they gave up on a 25-year-old superstar. Because I remember you were talking about Luka. I remember when we first had a show last time, we were talking about Luka and how great he is and what he does on the court. So how can you justify?
He's unreal, man. I've called his name multiple times. Like, the guy's crazy. I've seen him out after World Cup games as well. Like, you know, out in public. Like, I've seen him disrespect Germany. Like I've never seen anybody almost uncomfortably disrespecting Germany. He is an amazing talent, and he is so young. What is the justification for that? Like, the only thing I can say is what everybody is saying right now, right? Like, all the commentators are saying is that they must know something we don't know. But what don't they know? Like, the guy's, he is who he is, right? Yeah. I think the things that you watch with Luka are probably what they're saying is, like, is he committed to being? He always kind of like, this is the thing, right? When we were over in for last World Cup. Oh, it's trippy, man. I think I told you about this. Like, we were on the same plane as Luka, like, and the whole German team as well. Like, coming in, it was a FIBA flight from Okinawa into Manila for the finals. It was like, it's crazy. Like, that guy was like a few rows ahead of me. It was insane. But like, I think the things that you're watching are probably what they're saying is, like, he's 25. He plays basketball all the time. Okay. Like, he plays for his country. Get it straight, everybody. Don't get it twisted.
And he loves playing for him. He loves playing for him.
In World Cups, not just like, hey, I'll step up and play for my country in Olympics. And I think you can all get the inference of where I'm going here and what who I'm not as happy with. But they're playing in World Cups. They're you know, he's a basketball guy. He loves basketball, but he looks like a guy. He looks like a dude that just rocked up on a Tuesday night men's A at the Bear Cave. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he probably just had 2 pizzas and he spent the rest of the day playing NBA 2K. Like, that's kind of who he appears to be. but the dude backs it up on the court. And I just don't know, like if the guy was like 33 or 32 or 31, like maybe like you're talking, like, isn't he 25?
Yeah. And also not even putting it out there to the rest of the teams to kind of go to the highest bidder, because bro, they could have got a return for him too, man. So as a CEO, man, you wouldn't agree with the way they kind of handled it.
Unless there's something that we just don't know. I don't know how that makes you a better basketball team. And even if the trade makes you a better basketball team, and that big supermax that's coming up makes you a better basketball team, not having that, it makes you a better basketball team in some way. How does not getting the most value from him? And I love AD, don't get me wrong, but like you'd have more value than that. So if all of those other things were in play and you still were going to make that move, it's like you said, why wouldn't you get the most value from him than because there's obviously more value you could get than that. I just don't know. It's a head scratcher. I don't get it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, because you're pretty much like the rest of the world out there, man, not understanding that trade. But Eric, man, I want to say thank you so much for joining the Kings Table, the Sydney Kings podcast. Look, I know we're going to be in for a good finals run, so I definitely want to get you back on while we start our finals run, even have a game by game sort of preview. So we really appreciate that. But yeah, man, just want to say thank you for joining the show, and we'll catch up very, very soon.
Yeah, we will, man. Best to you. And like I said, anything you need, you let me know. And thanks everybody for the listen, and thanks for having me on here. It's fantastic.
And guys, also, man, would like to give a big shout out to the Basketball Fix, your home of NBL content. So yeah, give them a like, give them a follow, subscribe, and they're your home for NBL, your MVPs. All right, take care and like and subscribe. Oh, sorry.
They don't do it like the king do. King do. Homie, ain't nobody king you. King you. Simmer down, boy. And get your hands off the